The moment she lifted her trembling hand and pointed straight at me, every sound in the room disappeared. The coffee cup in my hand suddenly felt too heavy to hold. My heartbeat pounded in my ears, and I realized that the words I had spoken only seconds earlier had changed both of our lives forever. I had simply told a grieving widow that she deserved another chance at love. I never imagined that, after years of hiding behind sorrow, she would silently choose me. Before we continue, if you believe kindness can heal broken hearts, if you believe forgiveness is stronger than regret, and if you believe everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, leave a thoughtful comment, and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming stories that remind us how powerful compassion can be. My name is Matthew Carter, and I had lived in Cedar Grove, Oregon, almost my entire life. It was one of those small American towns where everyone knew each other's birthdays, favorite coffee orders, and family histories. 3 years earlier, the entire town had gathered beneath gray skies to say goodbye to Jonathan Brooks, a respected firefighter who had lost his life while protecting strangers during a warehouse fire. His wife, Rebecca Brooks, had stood through the funeral like someone whose soul had quietly left her body. She smiled politely when people hugged her, thanked everyone for their prayers, and then slowly disappeared from the life she once loved. Rebecca had once been the brightest person in every room. She organized neighborhood cookouts, volunteered at church food drives, and somehow remembered everyone's favorite dessert. After Jonathan passed away, those joyful pieces of her vanished. She continued teaching at the elementary school, but outside work, she rarely attended community events. She politely declined invitations and spent most evenings tending the small flower garden that Jonathan had built with his own hands. I never considered myself especially close to Rebecca. Jonathan had been my friend since high school, and after his passing, I occasionally helped with small repairs around her home. We never spoke about grief directly. Instead, we talked about broken fences, leaking faucets, tomatoes growing in her backyard, and the weather. Somehow, those ordinary conversations became a quiet bridge that helped both of us keep moving. Years passed before our church announced a charity breakfast for families facing hardship. Rebecca surprised everyone by volunteering to organize the event. Watching her greet people again, laugh with elderly neighbors, and encourage young volunteers reminded me of the woman everyone had missed for so long. It wasn't that her pain had disappeared. It was simply no longer the only thing people could see. After the event ended, we remained behind cleaning tables, while sunlight poured through the fellowship hall windows. We spoke about Jonathan for the first time in years. Rebecca admitted she still felt guilty whenever she smiled, as though happiness somehow betrayed the love she had shared with her husband. I listened carefully, because grief is rarely looking for answers. It only hopes someone will stay long enough to understand. That was when I gently told her something that had been resting on my heart for months. I said Jonathan had loved her too deeply to want loneliness to become the rest of her story. I told her that honoring someone isn't measured by how long we refuse happiness. I told her she deserved another chance at love. She stared at me for what felt like forever. Then she slowly pointed toward me. My heart stopped. I couldn't speak because I wasn't sure what she meant. My mind raced through every possible explanation, except the obvious one. Tears filled Rebecca's eyes as she admitted that every time she imagined trusting someone again, every face disappeared, except mine. She confessed that kindness had slowly replaced fear, that friendship had quietly become comfort, and that comfort had unexpectedly become love. She had buried those feelings because she believed no one would understand them. Not the town, not the church, and certainly not me. For several long moments, I could only stand there. I hadn't realized that somewhere between fixing porch steps, delivering groceries during winter storms, and sharing countless ordinary conversations, my own heart had begun changing too. I had convinced myself I was simply honoring my friend's memory by helping his wife. The truth was much more complicated. I cared for Rebecca in ways I had never allowed myself to admit. Our journey afterward wasn't simple. Some people whispered. Others questioned whether enough time had passed. Rebecca struggled with guilt, and I wrestled with wondering whether Jonathan would have approved. Then one evening, Jonathan's father invited us to dinner. We expected criticism, but instead the elderly man placed an old photograph on the table. It showed Jonathan smiling beside Rebecca on their wedding day. He quietly explained that shortly after their marriage, Jonathan had once told him something he would never forget. If anything ever happened to him, he prayed Rebecca would someday find someone who loved her enough to make her laugh again. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. Those words didn't erase every fear overnight, but they lifted the burden we had both carried for far too long. Over the following year, our relationship grew naturally, built on honesty, patience, shared faith, and deep respect for the past, instead of trying to erase it. Jonathan's memory remained part of Rebecca's life, and somehow that never threatened what we were building together. Love wasn't replacing love, it was making room for healing. Before we reach the end of this story, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment telling us whether you believe people can truly find love again after unimaginable loss. Your words may encourage someone reading the comments who is still carrying a heavy heart. On a warm spring afternoon beneath blooming dogwood trees, Rebecca and I exchanged wedding vows surrounded by family, neighbors, and friends who had witnessed every chapter of our journey. No one pretended the past had never happened. Instead, everyone celebrated the miracle that hope had survived it. If this story touched your heart, reminded you that healing takes courage, or encouraged you to believe in compassion and second chances, please support the channel by liking this video, sharing it with someone who may need hope today, subscribing for more inspiring stories, and letting us know your thoughts below. Sometimes the greatest act of love isn't forgetting yesterday, it's finding the courage to believe that tomorrow still holds beautiful possibilities.